Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your severe weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. We're going to start this morning in the Gulf of Mexico, and I'm getting the latest reports from the Air Force reconnaissance aircraft about Tropical Storm Don. Now, I wanted to start here because I wanted to put out a word of caution for anyone along the southern Texas coast. When a tropical system like Don moves into the central Gulf of Mexico with very light wind shear, the potential for this type of tropical system, which is a small compact system, to rapidly intensify is great. And I would strongly suggest to keep an eye on Don over the next 24 hours, because I do believe, based on the latest developments that are shown up on the satellite picture, that Don is going to enter an intense period of strengthening and intensification. The reason why is based on what I'm seeing on the outcrops of the convection that is developing around Don. Notice that some of these clouds are starting to feather out, and we're starting to develop an outflow pattern. When a tropical low pressure system intensifies, you have an inflow pattern where all the warm air and moisture is flowing into the center of the tropical low pressure system, and then that moisture is lifted, and then a high pressure system on top of the tropical low allows what's left of that moisture and the dry air from condensation to exit out of the tropical low. And you need that exiting mechanism to allow a tropical low pressure system to develop. It is the key tenet of a warm core low. And we're starting to see that developing now, that process developing now. And when you have a very tight, small circulation like what we have with Tropical Storm Don, these type of low pressure systems can intensify rapidly with very little notice. So keep an eye on Don, because it's going to be something that I think could be a little bit stronger than what we're currently expecting from the National Hurricane Center and from the model guidance, which, by the way, have not handled Don very well up to this point. So we're going to have to keep an eye on Don as it moves to the Texas coast over the next 24 to 36 hours. I'm expecting a landfall early Saturday morning between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Back in the United States, meanwhile, we have an interesting pattern starting to set up for the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all the models again, because we are basically in the same pattern we've been in. And I think I can illustrate this better with the satellite picture that we have this morning. We have in place over the northern Atlantic a negative NAO pattern. See this low pressure here? Well, it's supported by an upper level low that is sitting over the Canadian Maritimes, and that produces a blocking pattern. And it also enhances the ridge that is sitting over the southeast and the Mississippi River Valley. So what we have setting up here is a storm track where areas of low pressure along a stationary or warm front are tracking towards the upper Midwest and central Great Lakes, move through the eastern Great Lakes, and then move south towards the northern Mid-Atlantic and southern New England. What this basically sets up is a stationary boundary or a warm front boundary setting up over the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan area, which will keep an active weather pattern in place. Now, what that basically means is that we'll be on the warm side of this boundary, so our temperatures will remain in the mid 80s to upper 80s along the immediate coast because of a sea breeze, and a little bit further inland, upper 80s to at times mid 90s. Now, being in this warm, humid air mass, combined with these disturbances, will keep the threat of thunderstorms in place each day. For example, tomorrow, the area low pressure that is currently over Iowa will move towards the eastern Great Lakes tonight and then drop southeast towards the New York City metropolitan area, which will produce an area of thunderstorms, and a few of these thunderstorms could be severe. We could be looking at a mesoscale convective system or an MCS that could produce very heavy rainfall tomorrow morning into the afternoon hours, which is why the model guidance is backing off into the lower to mid 80s for many locations, because of the large area of rainfall that usually develops with these MCS systems. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that going forward. So for the pattern itself, you can see the high pressure system is anchored over the southeast, and you see the pattern basically where these disturbances move over the high. We have the majority of the heat, the real intense heat, where temperatures are in the upper 90s to lower 100s, remaining over the Mississippi River Valley and southern plains, and then these disturbances rotate around like a ring of fire through the northern mid-Atlantic, producing unsettled weather conditions. Now, as far as the temperatures, as I said, away from the coast, temperatures will be in the 90s. With the humidity, that's going to push your heat index close to 100 degrees, and that's why the Philadelphia office from the National Weather Service have issued heat advisories for those conditions. One final point, we're going to have to keep an eye on what happens with Don. Now, obviously, Don is not going to directly impact the northern mid-Atlantic. However, the residual moisture from Don will either move into the southern plains or rotate towards southwestern Texas and then get trapped into this whole pattern that we have setting up, where disturbances can pick up the residue moisture and rotate it right into the northern mid-Atlantic, and that could enhance the thunderstorm potential going into next week. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But really, this pattern is basically what we're going to be looking forward to for the next 10 to 15 days, and I really don't see much of a change until the entire pattern itself breaks down, which I'm not really expecting for some time. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA Weather as your severe weather source for the northern mid-Atlantic. For the latest updates on Tropical Storm Don and severe weather in general, trust in NYNJPAweather.com and visit NYNJPA Weather on Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have an excellent day.